So welcome to this quick tips episode about fast scales. Now I'm very obsessed with fast scales. I love players that can play fast scales. I work on it pretty much daily myself, but I don't have it figured out yet. So what I'm not going to do in this video is give you tips on how to play fast scales or secrets or anything like that. Why? Because I'm not qualified yet. Maybe one day I will be. But that's okay. At the beginning of this video, I just wanted to show, this is, like probably one of my best sounding scales. So I just recorded scales until I thought I got one that, sounded decent. Okay. Because this is one of the things I want to talk about here. You need to know, you need to see people show what they're going to be talking about. And if they can't do that, then I wouldn't listen to them, because by definition, they don't know what they're talking about. So if you're like me and you want to improve your scales, learn how to play faster, things like that, I think one of the big challenges we have these days is sorting through all the advice that you're going to find from people online, okay? Of course, there's a ton of well-known people that play amazing fast scales, Paco de Lucia, Guitarists, people like that, okay? There's also a ton of people that you may never have heard of that can play equally as fast, okay? There's lots of people that know how to do this, so you're gonna find many videos about the secret, or here's the thing that makes it work, okay? And that is difficult to kind of balance all that information, to kind of know what people are talking about. People do their best to explain how they do what they do, but for most people, and I can relate to this, it's hard to explain how you do some things that you do, especially the more natural it feels, okay? So I want to just go over some points here on how to deal with some of these advices that you're going to find, and allow yourself to find whatever avenue you need to play fast scales, okay? So the very first thing I want to mention is be sure that whoever you are listening to demonstrates their definition of a fast scale. Okay, this is really important because a lot of people want to talk about this. A lot of people will make videos on it, and they may not meet your criteria for fast. Speed is on a spectrum. So if you have no experience with speed, you might think the scale I played at the beginning is like really fast. If you have a lot of experience with speed, probably you don't think that scale is very fast, because you're used to hearing like Paco de Lucia play fast scale, okay? It's a whole different echelon of technique. And there's nothing wrong with an approach from any of those places. I'm just saying, be sure that at the beginning or somewhere when people are explaining, they demonstrate what a fast scale means to them and that matches your definition. Because I think if it doesn't, then you shouldn't listen to them. You should go find someone who does. And we all know how anyone can post things online. You just want to make sure you get that straight so that you're getting the best advice. And if it's not what you need, you just do away with it. Find someone else who can help you. So I think that's the first thing I want to mention. That's a pet peeve of mine when people talk about things that they're not yet qualified to talk about. Okay. The second thing is, I've heard this teaching point made more than once. I've never heard a great scale player say it, but just in case you ever come across this point, I think it needs more clarification. So I've heard people teach speed and say the line, speed is a byproduct. And I believe that is a false statement. Speed is not a byproduct. Okay, now we can take the healthy things from that. I think what people mean is, they're trying to impress upon someone, maybe especially someone that's younger, you can't just play fast in itself, you have to be accurate, you have to be loud, or the dynamic that you want, you have to be even. So be sure you take care of these things, okay? That is true. When you hear, one of the words I would use to describe Paco de Lucia's scale technique is musical. He will do things like crescendo down to the bass strings. The evenness, yeah, that's absolutely musical. So these points are true. But if you just work on the accuracy, the dynamic, the evenness, it will not take care of the fact that you have to move faster. So speed is its own element that you apply. Yes, work on these other things. But in the end, you also have to move faster. And you have to have these things, being taken care of as you do that. So just in case you ever hear that line and you're confused by it, I think it's because it doesn't make any sense. You might rephrase it and say, well, you can't just play fast. You also have to be accurate. You also have to be musical with dynamics. You also have to be even. So these things, go into a great fast sounding scale. Yeah, that's true. But speed is not a byproduct. It does not happen by itself. And a lot of people that can play fast, naturally, they have high metabolisms. Their nervous systems work very fast. Okay, so they can just move fast easier. So that's its own thing. Speed is not a byproduct. And the last thing I'll say, and I think this really applies if you are watching a lot of videos about speed and you hear people talk about different things. I think in general, you have to find a way to move fast however you can. People are going to say what works for them. And when they come up with a certain technical approach that kind of clicks into place for them, or when they think about their own scale technique and they think, well, this is the most important thing about it, well, it's their job to share that. They're trying to help you, right? But, that may not be the case for you in your hands and in your system, the way it moves. Or, it may be the case where we can't jump forward and just understand a very advanced, very experienced technical approach and then immediately take advantage of it. We may have to work our way there. Okay. The main thing that I see explained that is confusing to me, that's my cats, is the economy of movement. So you will hear a lot of people that say, if you want to play faster, you have to move less. Okay. They're right. But I would add something to that. Your speed only needs to be as fast as it needs to be to meet your needs, to meet your goals. Okay. If you just want to say, I want to be able to play as fast as humanly possible whenever I want, I hope you're super duper talented, and I hope you have hours and hours of time every day to practice scales. Otherwise, good goals would just be, I'm playing a piece of music, it's going to go at this tempo, it has a scale or scales in it, here's how fast they need to be. That's really as fast as you need to play. So when talking about economy of movement, if you can meet those goals moving a little or moving a lot, I don't think it matters. These people are right when they say if you want to play faster, you need to move less. Eventually that will be the case, probably. But if moving more, allows you to play as fast as you want, maybe your system is such to where you can just move so fast, you're smacking the heck out of the strings and it doesn't matter. You're playing as fast as you need to play. So I've had a lot of struggles in studying economy of movement and then feeling like I'm restricted. And I remember one time I was getting ready for a recital and I was going to play this Villalobos Etude 7 with the famous scales in it. And I was practicing it and I was trying to move, not very much, and I was having trouble. And then I remember all of a sudden I just let go and I moved so much and the scale came out really clean and flowing and sounded better than ever. And I thought, whoa, that's what I'm going to do now. I don't have time to analyze it or try something different. This is as good as it can sound. And I remember playing my program for my teacher, and he said, your scales sound really nice. And I said, thanks. I said, I'm doing what you're not supposed to do. I said, I'm just moving my fingers a lot. And immediately he started saying, well, you got to minimize the movement, and, all this kind of stuff, okay? And sometimes that can be good advice. But, you kind of have some choices. You can minimize the movement, and you won't have to move as fast. There will be more time in between movements, which eventually will lead to faster scales. Or you could just move more and move faster. And look at someone like, you can compare the scale techniques of someone like Paco de Lucia and another great flamenco guitarist, Sabikis. Paco de Lucia is like the epitome of economy of movement. I mean, he moves so little and gets so much power with each stroke. It's hard to make sense of it. It's just like, how is this even happening? Look at Sabikis, he moves more. Okay, could he play as fast as Paco de Lucia? I don't think so. Could he play plenty fast? Oh yeah. Plenty fast for pretty much any other human being, okay? And he had more movement in his picado technique, and he just moved faster. So a lot of times I hear people giving advice and they say, I see people playing fast scales like this, and what they need to realize is they're moving too much. And I'm just saying, I disagree with that statement. Hey, chill, relax. You really can't say to someone else you're moving too much if they're meeting their needs. And I also think that if you're trying to figure out how to play fast, I wouldn't worry too much about any of that. Figure it out however you can. You can always tweak it later. And I have seen in one flamenco method book, when they taught picado technique, they taught it like this. They taught it to extend your finger as far as it would go, okay? The opposite of what we're talking about. Now, of course, when you start to move faster, that movement is gonna shorten. But that just tells me there's something to that, and a lot of people would ascribe to working that way, to doing that kind of work. So these are just some thoughts to kind of help you wade through all the information you're gonna find when people talk about fast scales. I mean, it's a tough thing to understand, I think, and it's probably an even tougher thing to explain. My teacher says that fast scales, picado technique or fast scales, whatever you want to call it, is probably the most difficult guitar technique out there. And that made me feel a lot better because I've been working on it for years and years. And yeah, for me it is extremely difficult. So I hope this kind of helps you take the information that you need. Hopefully at another time I can make a video about my own tips for how to play fast scales, but I'm still trying to figure it out myself and put those things together before I can share it with someone else.